Hey guys, coming at you today with a little recipe redo on my original keto soft and chewy chocolate chip cookie recipe. We're gonna make it lower carb, higher protein, and just as delicious. But of course, it is the holiday season, so I had to change it up a little bit. We're gonna make some English toffee chip keto chocolate chip cookies. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alicia. I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth. Now I own a keto gluten-free bakery, and I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best recipes possible. So if you enjoy my recipes, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps me, my bakery, my channel grow and bring you new recipes every week. Today, some delicious chocolate chip cookies. This is a recipe I've been meaning to revisit for a while because I figured out this recipe before I figured out my combo of doing more whey protein than coconut flour in recipes. And I used to think that I needed more coconut flour to like bring a cookie or cake or anything together. But I figured out that I can use twice as much or more of whey protein instead of the coconut flour. And that brings the carbs way down and it cuts the graininess down a little bit of the coconut flour. I still use coconut flour because I think it's less grainy than almond flour, but it still has a little bit of grain in it compared to like a wheat flour. To start out this recipe, if you want to make the English toffee chocolate chip cookies, you would need to make my English toffee. It uses about 2 bars, maybe a little bit more. I just weigh it out at 4 ounces of English toffee bits. I already have some made. You got to keep it in the fridge if you don't want it to get like soft and like kind of stick together or stick to your teeth. So mine is still in the refrigerator until we have to chop it and add it to our dough. Go check out that video first if you want to make some English toffee chocolate chip cookies. But once you got those made, the cookie recipe is pretty simple. We got to start with 2 sticks, 8 ounces, 224 grams of salted butter. I just always use salted butter. If not, you just gotta add ½ teaspoon. You want it nice and soft. I actually made this recipe again this morning to do a little test run on my new oven. I got down here and it was really cold in here. So I actually put 2 sticks in the microwave, 50% power for 15 seconds, and that softened them up enough. But mine were already sitting out. It was just 60 degrees in here, so they weren't very soft. Adding those to our mixing bowl. You can do this with a hand mixer, but you want this super soft and fluffy. That really helps with our texture. It minimizes the cooling effect of our erythritol and gives us less graininess in our cookies. And stay tuned, if you do like crispy cookies, you can make this crispy too. It's still gonna be kind of soft and tender in the middle, but the outside gets super crispy. You just gotta change the way you cook it a little bit. So to that, we're gonna add our sweetener. Now going back to my original, I did the original amount of sweetener in here in my first test, and it tasted not sweet to me at all. Like, that's how much my palate has changed since having a child. It's pretty crazy because it's been 3 years and it still has not gone back to how it was before I was pregnant. So I still do the 96 grams, which is really a small amount for cookies. A ½ cup of sweetener to 2 sticks of butter is way less than a regular cookie, but that used to taste sweet to me. It doesn't anymore. So I'm gonna do a ½ cup of granular golden monk fruit erythritol blend, but then I'm adding a ½ teaspoon of stevia to this. If you don't mind more sugar alcohols, I did it with 144 grams, which is 3/4 of a cup of granular, and it was sweet enough for me. So it's up to you what you wanna do sweetness level on this, however much or little you want. I wouldn't do no sweetener because you might not get like kind of crispy edges on your cookie because the sugar melts and gets crispy on the edges. But a ½ cup to even a cup of granular 1-for-1 sweetener will work. And a classic will work too. I just think brown sugar and chocolate chip cookies kind of go together. And I'm gonna add a ½ teaspoon of powdered stevia to that. I just buy, this has lasted me a really long time, the Better Stevia organic powder. Usually the more you buy, the cheaper it is. So I always get the bigger bulk things. Okay, now one of the tricks to my cookies is beating this with a whisk for 10 minutes until it's super light and fluffy and a lot of the graininess is gone out of our sweetener. This is one of those recipes where if you have the money to buy Locanto granular sweetener, it is a little bit better quality. Like the graininess on this is a lot bigger. I actually have some Locanto here. This is like a lot finer grain than this sweetener here. So Locanto actually is better in this instance, I think, but anything will work. You can get your dry ingredients while that is whipping and everything else ready to go. That's the most efficient way to do it, but I'm not gonna talk while that's going, so it's gonna take me longer to make the recipe than you. Like I said, I made this earlier, so I'm just using the same bowl I used earlier. If you're making a lot of cookies, use the same dry ingredient bowl over again. Same thing with the sifter and the whisk. So the original recipe only had 1 scoop of protein powder and ½ cup plus 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. I basically swapped that. I do 80 grams of protein powder and 30 grams of coconut flour. It's the same ratio as in a lot of my baked goods. And one of the reasons I thought about this is because someone left a comment saying that the 80 grams of whey protein and 30 grams of coconut flour was like the perfect ratio for a lot of baked goods that he's tried. So 80 grams or 1 cup of an unflavored whey protein isolate. I use this because it has 0 carbs per scoop. 30 grams should be 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Whoa, as I'm throwing it all over the place. I've even noticed different bags of coconut flour have different graininesses. Some are way finer and lighter in color than others. And I always get the same brand, Great Value Organic Coconut Flour. And it's still different every time. That was only 26 grams. So this is one of those recipes that could be altered by a little bit of different measurements because the less dry ingredients you have, the more it's gonna spread. In chocolate chip cookies, it doesn't matter as much because you're not like trying to keep a shape specifically, but you don't want a completely flat cookie. So I think my original recipe probably had a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Since then, I've cut it all in half. All my old recipes, I use half the amount. I don't know if brand I was using back then was just less strong, but now I've noticed when I go back to make my old recipes, I need half as much as I used to. ½ teaspoon of baking soda. And in my original recipe, oh, that's right, I didn't have xanthan gum in my old recipe because I used gelatin and arrowroot powder. So I cut out the arrowroot and just did the xanthan gum, but I still kept the gelatin because that gives you a little bit of chew to the cookie. Just like in a lot of my baked goods, like my cinnamon rolls and sticky buns and stuff like that, I've learned that you can add the gelatin and xanthan to give like a breadier chew to our bready baked goods. It definitely gives a little bit of chew to our cookies also. 1 tablespoon or 10 grams, I use beef gelatin, and that's it for your dry ingredients. So like I said, if you want to make the English toffee ones, you do 4 ounces of my English toffee chopped up. My original cookie recipe was 6 or 7 ounces of chocolate chips. So I'm going to add 2 ounces of chocolate chips to my English toffee cookies. You just don't want to add too much English toffee because the allulose in there melts and caramelizes, and if you put too much English toffee in the cookie, I found it was just completely spread and like a cracker crispy. If you want that in a cookie, definitely you can add more, but I was going for a little soft, chewy center and crispy around the edges. I'm gonna whip up the butter and sweetener together while I chop up my English toffee bits and grab my 2 ounces of chocolate chips. I'm gonna use Bake Believe semi-sweet, but you can use whatever chocolate chips you want to use. Definitely want to stop and scrape down a couple times, well, several times while this is whipping. And if you're doing it for the first time, I would definitely say put a timer on to get it around the 10-minute mark. I know what it needs to look like. I've done this just a few times. I used to sell my chocolate chip cookies in 3-packs for vendor shows. They were like a huge seller. I do like chopping it up into little bits rather than like huge chunks, because like I said, it does melt and you get like kind of odd shaped cookies if you have big chunks in there. I'm also going to preheat my oven to 350 because this doesn't have to chill or anything before we throw it in the oven. Whoops, hit the wrong button. I do have a convect oven now, but I just did a test this morning and I think it's better on the regular bake function. So 350, not convection. Okay, so it was just over 2 bars of my English toffee. They're all gonna weigh different because, you know, how much chocolate you ended up putting on each one. It's looking about right. So I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I'm gonna throw this back in the fridge because it will start getting soft and they'll all stick together. So 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and then I'm gonna add egg and then all the dry ingredients. My egg is room temperature. If it's not, I just put in a little bit of warm water to warm up a little bit. It just makes the incorporation into the butter and sweetener mixture a little bit better. It doesn't get all chunky from cold egg hitting warm butter and solidifying it again. I have to scrape down way less upstairs than in this mixer because this mixer is so big. I don't think this whisk really reaches the edge like it's supposed to. I keep meaning to look into buying a new whisk for this and keep forgetting. You do want to make sure the dry ingredients are really well mixed in there, because if you have any pockets of butter, they will misshape your cookie because it'll melt and then it won't keep the shape that you put it in. Back when I sold these, I did triple chocolate just because it sounded better. So I did dark, semi-sweet, and milk chocolate chips. Okay, add in your chocolate chips. So if you're just making chocolate chip cookies, 6 ounces to however much you really want of chocolate chips in there, and then all of your English toffee bits. Looks delicious. Okay, now it's time to scoop them. Let's get cleaned up here a little bit first. I gotta clear off my workspace here. Okay, I'm all cleaned up here. So far, I love this oven, except for it's kind of loud. So it's really sounding like a legit like restaurant bakery in here with my industrial freezer I have now and a nice convection oven and all that stuff. The convection isn't even on, but the fan turns on to heat it up when it drops below the set temperature. So it definitely is a little bit louder. So I hope background noise doesn't bother you too much, but this good microphone, usually when I'm talking, will cut out most of the background noise. Got our dough here, and I got times for this scoop and this scoop. 20 grams, 40 grams. 2 of these is 1 net carb, 1 of these is 1 net carb. So whatever you want to do, I'm gonna make some big and some small ones because I might be giving these in your Christmas boxes, which you'll be seeing this after you get your Christmas deliveries. So super easy. 1 scoop should be about 20 grams. I'll have these guys linked below. It's all gonna be different depending on how many chunks you have in each scoop you do. So see, if you have more chocolate chips in there, it's gonna weigh more. They don't spread a ton, so I squish them down a little bit. I just like to be real accurate with my baked goods. Obviously, you don't have to measure, but I mean, if I'm selling them, I want everybody to get the same, all that, so I weigh everything pretty much. I'm one of those people that I like to have more cookies than 1 big cookie, so I usually like smaller cookies. And these back, I believe this was the scoop I used back in my old video, but I also used Carb Manager. So Carb Manager gave you 1 big amount of carbs per recipe, and I would divide it myself by however many I got. So I think I said in the recipe or in the video, like 0.7 grams of net carbs per cookie. Well, now I use Recipale that actually just gives me a nutrition label. Carbs on these aren't that different than my old recipe, but that's just because I was using a different way to figure out the carbs. I'm gonna do 1 pan of small and then the rest big ones. If you do all small, you should get 33. Big ones, you'll get 15 or 16, depending. We're gonna bake these. It's really gonna depend on your oven because my last oven was completely different than this one. So I say 5, turn them, and then gauge how much longer you think they're gonna need. Go on the lower end the first tray you bake. Don't bake all your cookies at once if you've never made this recipe. That's a thing I learned. Don't ever bake more than 1 tray or do a big batch of something you've never made it before kind of thing, because you never know all the stuff that goes along with recipes until you make them yourself. I'm gonna do 5, turn 5, and they should be good to go. Now that I have a new oven, I should be able to do 2 racks of cookies at the same time. because this one doesn't suck like my last one did. I'm gonna make some big cookies. Oh, I was gonna mention, if you want crispy cookies, the small ones squish down even more. Bake them at 375 for about 11 minutes, and they'll be crispy on the outside and just a little bit soft and chewy in the middle. Okay, these do bake a little bit longer. I'm gonna put them in 5 turn 6 on these. I'll wash my hands so I can take a video of my new oven for you guys. These are getting a turn, which I probably don't even have to turn things anymore, but I'm just like so used to it. It'd be a hard habit to break, I guess. Put the other pan in down there. I'm only gonna set it for 4 more minutes for that small tray. We'll be back when we pull the small ones out of the oven and turn the big guys. Okay, that was 5 and 4. I'm gonna check on them real quick. If you like them softer and chewier, definitely pull them now. I'm gonna do 1 more minute. I was able to get 2 more big guys out, so I'm gonna put those in after those small ones come out. Okay, it's been 1 more minute, so I'm pulling these guys out. They're gonna be completely soft until they're cooled, so let them chill on a rack. Don't burn yourself. It's been 6 minutes on the big guys, so I'm gonna rotate those real quick and probably set it for 5 more minutes. Big guys. Oh yeah, they look good. I'm gonna put these guys in. Okay, so it's been 6 and 5 minutes for the big guys in the oven. And they look delicious. See, I was saying like it like melts and pools. So if you have really big chunks, you might get some blowouts here and there, but they look delicious. Fortunately, they gotta cool completely before we can taste them. Otherwise, they'll just be way too soft. Okay, they aren't completely cooled, but they're solid enough that I got them off the pan. They're all like caramely on the bottom from that melted English toffee. They're soft, but like crispy around the edges. Like a little squishy in the middle. That's how I like them. Still crispy around the edges though. That's even with the chocolate chip. It's not just with the English toffee in it. Super good. Chewy in the middle. They're so good. So I got more of these. And the sweetness level is just about there for me. I might even do a little bit more, but I didn't want to go overtly sweet because a lot of people like my recipes the way they are. So I tend to stick with the sweetness level that I have in previous recipes. I don't always like the sweetness of my desserts, but they're catered to people that have less of a sweet tooth than me. Because before keto, I could eat the chocolatiest chocolate cake and a big slice of it, no problem. And most people would be like, oh, that's so sweet. Not for me. So good. I gotta finish this one. And these were the chocolate chip cookies from earlier. They're still crunchy and crispy on the outside, tender and soft and chewy in the middle. This is the one I was talking about if you bake it at 375. Crispy and crunchy, but still tender and a little bit chewy. So if you like crispy cookies, this recipe will work crispy or soft and chewy. Still good, either way. They're so good. I love chocolate chip cookies. So I hope you guys enjoy this little recipe redo and try it out for yourself. If you liked my original ones, this one's even a little bit easier and lower carb and higher protein. It's just as delicious. What other cookies do you guys want to see? I have an entire cookie playlist. Link it up there for you. I've done a lot of cookies, but I'm sure I'm missing some. So let me know what your favorite cookie is down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link to that will be down in the description box below, along with the blog link to the full recipe, which will explain freezing, thawing, baking from frozen, all that stuff. It can be done with pretty much all my cookies. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, I'll be back with many more keto, low carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye guys. Happy keto baking and holiday cookie making.